What if your next move wasn't yours to decide? What if seconds before you thought you'd made a choice, an intelligence already knew what you were going to do, not as a guess, but with eerie accuracy? What to eat, who to date, which candidate to vote for. Before you're aware, the decision's already there in your brain's wiring, and AI has read it. It's not mind control. It's not magic. It's neuroscience plus machine learning. And it's happening right now in various labs around the world. However, if this tech escapes the lab, the concept of free will might never be the same. The problem and fascination. Humans adore the comforting illusion that we're in charge, that our morning begins with a noble act of free will when we reach for the cornflakes instead of the muesli, that we scan dating apps like sovereign kings and queens, carefully selecting partners with unshakable autonomy, that our career paths are forged by pure, unfiltered choice, not by a messy collision of chance, childhood conditioning, and caffeine intake. But for decades, neuroscientists have been whispering an inconvenient truth. The show might already be scripted before we even know our lines. Your brain, without so much as asking your permission, starts laying the groundwork for a decision before you. The conscious you feels like you've decided anything at all. This isn't abstract philosophy, the sort you might debate in a dimly lit dorm room. It's testable. In the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet ran an experiment that still makes people squirm. He measured a phenomenon called the readiness potential, a surge of neural activity that appeared up to half a second before participants consciously decided to move a finger. Half a second might sound trivial, like the time it takes to blink, but in computational terms, it's an eternity. A half-second head start is the kind of window a clever algorithm could use to see your choice coming before you do. For scientists and machine learning engineers, this raises an irresistible question. If the brain leaves a detectable fingerprint before a choice, how far back can we read it? A second? 5 seconds? Or long enough to predict a vote? A purchase? A confession? And if so, who's steering the wheel? The rise of predictive artificial intelligence. Over the past decade, two once separate frontiers have started to intertwine, and the result is as thrilling as it is unsettling. On one side, we have neuroscience, which has evolved from grainy, slow snapshots of brain activity to high-resolution, millisecond-level recordings. We can now peer into the living brain with precision tools like EEG, electroencephalography, which measures the electrical activity of the brain using electrodes placed on the scalp, plus fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, which visualizes brain activity based on changes in blood flow and oxygenation levels. Not to mention portable neuro headsets that look suspiciously like gaming accessories but can track neural chatter in real time. On the other side, there's machine learning algorithms that excel at finding patterns in chaos, the way a hawk can spot a mouse in a field of waving grass. These models don't just see what we see, they uncover patterns no human could ever detect buried in oceans of data. When these two forces meet, something sensational happens. Predictive AI systems can be trained not only on your visible behavior, the clicks, swipes, and purchases you've already made, but on your pre-decision brain signals. In other words, they're learning to catch your mind in the act before you even know what you're about to do. In 2019, researchers at the Max Planck Institute demonstrated the power of this union. By combining fMRI scans with AI, they could predict a participant's choice up to 7 seconds before the person consciously made it. 7 seconds might not seem like much in conversation, but in the realm of decision-making, it's enough time to change the ending of a story before the protagonist even starts speaking. By 2023, these models had grown even more sophisticated. Feeding on EEG and eye-tracking data, they weren't just predicting which snack you'd pick, they were forecasting if you'd buy a product, or even if you'd tell a lie in your next conversation. This is no longer about reacting to your choices, it's about preempting them. How choice predicting intelligence works. Picture your brain as a massive stadium on game day. Tens of thousands of neurons. The fans are shouting, waving signs, and chanting wildly. Some are yelling, "Go left." Others are screaming, "Go right." Most of the time, it's a chaotic roar. But when you're about to make a decision, the noise starts to lean in one direction. The vote builds in the crowd long before the referee. Your conscious mind blows the whistle. Predictive artificial intelligence doesn't wait for the whistle. It leans in, listens to the swell of noise, and says, "I already know how this play ends." Step 1. Data capture. First, the AI needs ears. Sensors like EEG caps, high-powered fMRI machines, and in DARPA experiments, non-contact magnetic field detectors quietly eavesdrop on the brain's electrical and magnetic chatter. This isn't metaphorical mind reading, it's a literal real-time recording of neural activity. Step 2. Pattern recognition. Next comes training. Machine learning models are fed thousands upon thousands of decision-making trials. Over time, they start recognizing neural signatures, unique activity patterns that consistently precede certain choices. Step 3. Real-time prediction. Once trained, the AI becomes the ultimate color commentator. It watches the early flicker of that neural vote and calls the outcome before you consciously know you've made it. Here's the truly uncanny part. With enough personal data, your unique neural quirks, biases, and habits, the intelligence stops making generic predictions. It can start forecasting your exact preferences. Not just someone will pick the red card, but you will pick the red card because it's Tuesday and you're slightly hungry. Decisions start before you're aware of them. One of the most unsettling findings in modern neuroscience is also one of the simplest to describe. Your conscious mind is late to the party. That satisfying little "I've decided" moment you feel? It's more like the ribbon-cutting ceremony for a building that's already been constructed. The science is remarkably consistent. Long before you're aware of making a choice, your brain's motor planning areas and prefrontal cortex have already started lining up the dominoes. They're running simulations, weighing probabilities, and quietly nudging you toward an outcome, all without sending you a memo. Back in the 1980s, Libet's famous half-second delay was already enough to spark philosophical meltdowns. But newer studies have stretched that window into something much larger. With advanced brain imaging and AI analysis, researchers have found that, in some cases, the neural groundwork for a decision can be detected multiple seconds before conscious awareness kicks in. If that's true, then free will might not be the spark that lights the fire. It might just be you nodding in agreement to a blaze that's already burning. In other words, your conscious self could be less of a commander and more of a very confident spokesperson for decisions made behind the scenes. This doesn't mean we're puppets with no control. It does, however, mean that a surprising amount of our will is pre-scripted by neural processes we don't directly control. And here's where AI steps in, not to override your will. At least not yet, but to pull back the curtain and show just how much of it was never really up for debate in the first place. Military, corporate, and political interest. Once you can predict a decision, the next logical and far more dangerous step is to influence it. And that's exactly where the big players are looking. The US military, for example, is already testing predictive intelligence in high-stakes fighter pilot simulations. Picture a pilot locked in a split-second dogfight. The AI reads subtle neural signals, flicker of hesitation, the first stirrings of a threat response, and reacts before the pilot consciously registers the danger. That's milliseconds shaved off reaction time. In combat, milliseconds can be the difference between victory and a smoking crater. Corporations, naturally, see an entirely different battlefield: your wallet. To them, predictive AI is a goldmine. Imagine browsing an online store where the product page changes before you click anything, because the system already knows what you're about to choose. Your decision becomes less a choice and more a performance, acting out a script the algorithm has already written for you. And then there's politics, the arena where influence is an art form. If predictive models can detect voter hesitation before a choice is made, campaign strategists could fire off real-time, micro-targeted messages designed to tip the scales. Not after you've decided, but while your decision is still forming. The ethical line between persuasion and manipulation blurs into nothing. This technology isn't just about knowing you, it's about nudging you, sometimes gently, sometimes with a shove, and the more it knows about your pre-decision brain, the better it gets at pushing. We are more predictable than we think. We love to imagine ourselves as wild cards, brimming with spontaneity, capable of surprising even ourselves. We tell stories about spur-of-the-moment trips, random purchases, and out-of-nowhere decisions, as if our lives are a string of delightful plot twists. But beneath that comforting narrative, we are astonishingly consistent creatures. The truth is, much of human behavior runs on well-worn tracks, habit loops, ingrained biases, and familiar response patterns. These are the bread and butter of predictive systems. Algorithms don't need you to be unpredictable. They only need you to be, reliably, you. Your body, without your awareness, leaks clues constantly. The way your eyes sweep across a restaurant menu isn't random. It follows a rhythm built over years of eating out. The pause before you hover over a Buy Now button is influenced by dozens of unconscious factors: price anchoring, color psychology, and even how tired you are. Predictive AI doesn't just notice these micro behaviors, it catalogs them, matches them to past instances, and turns them into probabilities. Now, introduce brain data into the mix, and the margin for surprise shrinks even further. With EEG, fMRI, or other neural sensors, the system doesn't just watch what you do, it listens to the pre-decision murmurs inside your head. By the time you think you're making a choice, the AI has already seen its neural shadow. In short, the more data you give predictive AI, the less mysterious you become. To the system, you're not a puzzle. You're a well-documented playlist. It can shuffle through at will. The science behind decision prediction. The ability to forecast a choice before it's made didn't appear overnight. It's the product of decades of experiments that have slowly peeled back the illusion of spontaneity. It started in the 1980s with Benjamin Libet's groundbreaking work. Using EEG, Libet detected the readiness potential, a surge of neural activity, milliseconds before a subject made a conscious movement. It was a crude window, but it cracked the door open. If the brain begins deciding before awareness, how far back could we look? In 2008, Soon et al. Has pushed that window wide open. Using fMRI, their team could predict a participant's choice up to 7 seconds before the subject reported it consciously. This wasn't a lucky guess. Their accuracy was well above chance, hinting at hidden neural signatures shaping our actions long before we notice them. From 2011 to 2019, John Dylan Haynes' lab refined the process. They paired higher resolution imaging with machine learning models, boosting prediction accuracy and expanding beyond binary decisions. Suddenly, it wasn't just left or right. The models could spot nuanced patterns, including emotional leanings toward certain options. By the 2020s, non-invasive magnetometry brought a new leap. Quantum sensors could detect the faint magnetic fields of brain activity without any physical contact. No bulky caps, no wires, just a sensor array, reading your thoughts from inches away. Today, the progression is striking. We've gone from crude, 60% accurate, yes/no guesses, to 90% plus precision in specialized lab conditions, with the ability to predict among multiple choices and even infer personal preferences. It's no longer, will you pick left or right? It's, we know you will pick sushi over pizza, and exactly what's driving that craving. What we can and can't do yet. For all its promise and all its unsettling implications, choice predicting AI is still largely a lab creature. The kind you'll find hooked up to high-end hardware in controlled rooms, not casually running on your phone. Yet, right now these systems need clean, high-quality neural data. That often means bulky EEG caps or fMRI machines, soundproof rooms, minimal distractions, and most importantly, thousands of trials to properly train the models. This isn't a one-and-done brain scan, it's more like teaching an AI your neural language through relentless repetition. What we can do, we can predict simple binary choices, like which button you'll press several seconds in advance with remarkable accuracy. We can detect emotional recognition in your brain before you consciously identify a face or a memory. We can even flag hesitation or internal conflict milliseconds before you consciously feel it, which is why the military is so interested in this tech. What we can't yet do. We can't read exact sentences you're forming in your head, at least not with current non-invasive methods. Your inner monologue is still safe from prying algorithms. We also can't perfectly predict entirely novel, high-complexity decisions, like whether you'll accept a job offer you've never considered before, with 100% certainty. The messier and more context-heavy the choice, the fuzzier the AI's crystal ball becomes. Still, the trajectory is clear. Every year brings better sensors, faster models, and richer datasets. The gaps on the can't list are shrinking, and within a decade, they may disappear entirely. At that point, your mind might not have many private corners left. Predictive AI isn't just about knowing, it's about influencing. It's tempting to think the real danger in predictive AI lies in its accuracy, the precision with which it can forecast your next move. But accuracy is just the foundation. The real power comes when prediction meets persuasion. If a system can reliably see your decision forming, it doesn't have to sit there passively, jotting down notes for the record. It can act in that narrow sliver of time before your choice locks in. And in the world of neuroscience and machine learning, those milliseconds are pure gold. Imagine this. The AI predicts you're about to decline an offer. In the microseconds before you commit, it shifts the environment better. Price flashes on the screen, a comforting image appears, or a subtle sound cue triggers a favorable emotional state. Suddenly, your decision tips in the opposite direction, and you think it was entirely your idea. This is no longer a prediction. This is preemption, editing the outcome in real time, while the conscious you is still catching up. The implications here cut deep into the free will debate. If your conscious mind isn't the origin of a decision, and if external systems can nudge that decision before it reaches awareness, where exactly does autonomy live? Is it a fixed point we can defend, or just a moving target that gets smaller with every intelligent advancement? The technology isn't just showing us what's in the mirror of our minds, it's learning how to reach through that mirror, rearrange the pieces, and let us believe nothing's changed. The future of choice? Fast forward 20 years. Predictive intelligence isn't a lab experiment or a military prototype. It's in your pocket, your car, and your home. It's woven into the operating system of daily life. Your phone no longer just reacts to your taps, it anticipates them. Your car adjusts its route before you realize you've changed your mind. Your smart glasses quietly shift what you see, even people's names hovering over their faces based on what you're about to think or say. It will feel seamless, almost magical. The convenience will be intoxicating. You'll walk into a cafe, and your order will be halfway made before you've spoken. A playlist will start with the song you just thought of. A reminder to call a friend will appear precisely when you are about to dial. It will be so smooth, so frictionless, you'll stop questioning how it works. And that's the point. The control will be invisible. You'll still feel like you're choosing, but in reality, the invisible hand of predictive intelligence will be nudging you, softly, constantly, toward outcomes it deems optimal. Governments may step in with regulations, promising to protect security and privacy, or they might quietly adopt the technology themselves, using it for surveillance, influence, or subtle behavioral shaping at scale. Either way, the genie will be out of the bottle. In this future, your decisions won't vanish. They'll just never again be entirely yours. The question won't be whether you have free will, but whether you'll notice the moment it slips quietly out of your hands. Artificial intelligence that predicts your choices before you make them is no longer theory. It's here, in the lab, sharpening its accuracy with every scan. Maybe it will help save lives, prevent accidents, or improve mental health. Or maybe it will become the most subtle form of control humanity has ever faced. So ask yourself, if an AI already knows your next move, is it still yours? If you're curious to learn more, like this video and subscribe to the channel for further explorations into the tech shaping your future. Tell us in the comments, would you want an AI predicting your choices if it could help you avoid mistakes? Thanks for watching. Stay blessed and stay curious.